The King of England is on the toilet, and you are the only man allowed to stand beside him. Outside the door, two dukes have been waiting since sunrise for 5 minutes of his time. They will not get it. You already have it. Because right now, in the most private room in the palace, you are holding the cloth. Pick a number. How much money would it take for you to do this job for 1 full day? Do not answer yet. At the start, you think you are pricing the smell. You are not. You are pricing access to the most powerful body in England. You are the groom of the stool in the court of Henry VIII, and the job sounds like a dirty joke someone told too loudly after dinner. But nobody at court was laughing when the door closed, because the man inside that room was closer to the king than almost anyone alive. Your morning starts before Henry's does. The closed stool has to be ready, not a rough wooden bucket, not some forgotten thing in a corner. This is royal equipment. Padded chair, a hole cut into the seat, a basin underneath, linen prepared, cloths folded, privacy arranged carefully, because in a Tudor palace even the king's toilet has more ceremony than most men's weddings. You check the room. The basin is in place. The seat is warm enough. The cloth is clean. The door can close. That last part matters. A closed door can be more powerful than a throne room. Then Henry enters. There is no trumpet, no cheering crowd, no painted glory. Just the king, heavy, tired, private, and trusting you with the part of his day no ambassador, bishop, general, or nobleman is allowed to see. You help him, carefully. There are jobs where pride has to wait outside. This is one of them. You assist with the stool. You stand close enough to hear him breathe. You clean what needs cleaning. You notice what has to be noticed. Timing, color, smell, pain, appetite. The small signs the royal physicians may later dress up in Latin. A fever can be hidden at dinner. A bad mood can be hidden in council. Pain can be hidden under velvet and gold. But not here. Not from you. The doctors have serious faces. You have the morning report from the king's body itself. Raise your number a little. Not because of the cloth. Because you have just become medical intelligence. Outside the door, someone shifts his weight. You know he is important before you know his name. Important men make a different kind of silence when they are forced to wait. A duke has land, soldiers, horses, a family name old enough to bore everyone at supper. And he cannot enter this room. You can. That is when the job starts to change shape. The disgusting part is easy to understand. Anyone can laugh at a man whose work involves the royal toilet. The harder part is this. Every man laughing would trade places with you if the reward was high enough. Because this was not really about waste. It was about proximity. Real proximity. Not the public kind, where a noble bows from 10 feet away and prays the king remembers his face. This was the private kind. The kind that happens before breakfast. The kind that hears a complaint before it becomes an order. The kind that knows whether the king slept badly, whether his leg hurts, whether a letter from France has put poison in his mood before the council even meets. In a court like Henry's, information does not arrive clean. It leaks. Through servants. Through glances. Through who gets called in and who gets left outside. And you are standing beside the leak before anyone else knows it exists. Keep your number in your head. Do not write it yet, because we have not reached the part men were actually fighting for. Henry does not perform king for you the way he performs for the court. There are no speeches in this room. No carefully arranged majesty. No mask. Some mornings he talks too much. Some mornings he jokes. Some mornings he complains about a man he smiled at in public yesterday. Some mornings he says nothing, and that is worse, because a silent king can ruin a room before he enters it. You learn the difference. You learn when to speak and when to become furniture. You learn that one careless answer near a king can travel farther than a shouted insult in a marketplace. Then the knock comes. A servant whispers through the door. A nobleman wants a private word. Of course he does. Everyone wants a private word. A marriage request. A land dispute. A son who needs a position. A rival who needs to be quietly damaged. A favor that sounds small until it changes a family's future. You can pass the message now. You can wait. You can say the king is not ready. You can say nothing at all. That is the weapon nobody puts on a coat of arms. Timing. A man outside may spend half his fortune trying to reach Henry for 5 minutes. You can lean slightly and say, "He is waiting." That is all. No sword. No army. No speech. Just one sentence from the right man at the right moment in the smallest room in the palace. Check your number again. If it has changed, good. At first, you were pricing disgust. Now you are pricing the power to decide who gets heard. That is why the job was not given to any random servant with strong nerves. The king needed someone close enough to help him, but trusted enough not to use that closeness badly. That kind of trust is ugly up close. Useful, though. Very useful. Henry had enemies everywhere. Foreign enemies, court enemies, family enemies, men who smiled at feasts and counted chances in private. A man who attends the king at the stool is close enough to hear fear before it becomes policy. Close enough to notice weakness. Close enough to become dangerous if he is foolish, angry, greedy, or owned by someone else. So the job went to men of rank. Gentlemen, knights, men who already belonged near power but wanted to step inside it. Henry Norris held this position under Henry VIII. He became one of the king's closest companions. A man who could speak to him with a familiarity most courtiers would have envied so badly it probably kept them awake. Nobody made Norris important because he handled linen well. He mattered because Henry let him stand where almost nobody else could stand. Beside him, unguarded. A title can open a public door. Trust opens a private one. And private doors are where power takes off its costume. The room is cleaned. The basin is removed. Other servants appear now, after the powerful part is finished. Funny how that works. The work is low when people want to mock it. The access is high when they want to use it. You step into the corridor. The Duke is still there. He looks at you differently now. Not warmly. That would be too honest. Carefully. That is worse. A careful look from an ambitious man means he has remembered that you are useful. He asks if the king is in good spirits. Such a small question. Harmless, almost. Except nothing about a king's mood is harmless. You could answer clearly. You could answer vaguely. You could smile. You could pause just long enough to make him worry. That is the strange power this job gives you. Not command. Not rank. Something quieter. Temperature. You can warm a man's chances or cool them before he reaches the door. One phrase from you and he enters hopeful. Another phrase and he waits all day. Last chance to change your number. Because now the bad smell is barely the point. You are standing between ambition and the king. By evening, the court goes back to pretending it is noble. Men in silk talk about honor. They praise bloodlines, loyalty, God, courage, and whatever else sounds clean when said under candlelight. Some of them will laugh at lower work. Some will wrinkle their noses at servants. Then tomorrow morning, before the speeches begin again, they will need the man from the room they pretend not to think about. You, the man beside the chair, the man with the cloth, the man who hears the king before the kingdom does. That is the part history does not like saying out loud. Power is not always on horseback. It is not always holding a sword. Sometimes it stands quietly in a velvet-lined room, holding a basin, while greater men wait outside and hope their names are mentioned. So go back to the number you chose at the start. Has it changed? Be honest. You were never pricing one bad smell for one bad day. You were pricing the only door in the palace that a duke could not open for himself. Now put your number in the comments. Not the number you would say to sound noble. The real one. I will pin the answer that feels most honest. And if this job was not what you expected, subscribe now. We are not done with the palace. There are more rooms like this, more titles that sound absurd until you find the power hiding inside them, and more forgotten jobs history tried to laugh at because admitting the truth would be much more embarrassing.